Hey folks, Judy here from East Texas Living, and coming to you today. I'm a little irritated at myself. I built these paver steps here, and I did a whole video series on that, and I lost the whole thing, kid you not, including the footage where the Apache helicopters were flying overhead, which was kind of cool, but yeah, lost the whole daggum thing. New to this whole video editing world, and using a free version of software, and the file path got corrupted. It was hard work. The project itself was not hard, but it was hard in that I had to sling a lot of those blocks, and so by the end of day one my back was paying for it big time. And anyhow, it's not, again, it wasn't a tough project because Jimmy and I have to kind of divide and conquer because we have so many things to do here on the place. But I would say, if anything, it was just the physical nature of slinging all them blocks was the hardest part. Cost-wise, the cinder blocks were $2.71 a piece at Lowe's, and the pavers on top of the cinder blocks were $1.88, and the steps ended up being, let's see, it's 32 inches going this way, 32 inches, and then long ways it's 55 inches long. So I ended up using most of the sand to fill in the blocks and in the cracks and everything. We have a ton of sand on our property, so if you had to buy sand, bags and bags of sand, it would take you quite a few bags, I would say. And then the construction adhesive I used to glue the blocks down to each other on that back row, and then the paver blocks on top of that, I used about a 1.75 tubes. They look like caulking tubes, and they were almost $9 a piece at Lowe's. So not an expensive project, but what you saved in cost, you paid for in your back. So anyway, but it's done, and this bottom area here where the dirt is there in front, I still am going to put probably one layer of some extra blocks that I had that don't really match, but they're going to be that first step, because that first step up is kind of a doozy for somebody that's as short-legged as me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little walk and talk, because I haven't done that in a while, and show y'all the fruit orchard, and then take you up and show you the garden area. And I'll be getting some tomatoes in the ground, hopefully not too early. We could get another frost, and if that's looking that way, I will cover them up. So, but the problem with gardening in Texas, if you wait till there's no danger of that, you could get a freak frost, around Easter. And if you wait that long, then the heat's going to cook everything, because it doesn't slowly heat up in Texas. It's like a switch. It's like cold, hot. There is no transitioning nice and slow into the season. So I'm going to take a chance and get those tomatoes and peppers in the ground today. So anyway, the walk and talk. So couple things, all that loveliness back there, those shipping containers, we hope to get those together. At one point we bought, when we were in Houston, it's like this arch thing that you can put between them, and it almost makes them like a barn together. And Jimmy's gonna park the tractor and get all of our stuff under cover, and then we're gonna eventually paint those tacky things the same color as the house. That's the goal. And then the sheds, I'm going to paint the same color as the house. That's the only color they had when we bought those things, and it doesn't match. And everything doesn't have to be perfect, but I'd at least like everything the same color as the house, and it doesn't look quite so colorful. So anyway, and we did scale down from your standard subdivision brick home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, what was it, 2,200 square feet. Your typical, subdivision HOA house in south of the Houston area, almost to Galveston is where we used to live. Community about 25 miles north of Galveston, and we were 25 miles south 28 miles south of Houston. And so we gave up that, not cozy, but that very structured subdivision world and city. Everything was close by, grocery store, everything, and moved up here to the country to kind of get back to our roots. And we did essentially retire early. And a lot of people, when we were getting ready to leave there, they were just shocked. They're like, how did you do it? How did you do it? And you know, the one thing I will say is Jimmy and I, we sacrificed for years. It wasn't an overnight thing being able to do this. We saved our money. We didn't go on tropical vacations. Some of his family members are pretty regular about going to Mexico and the Bahamas and different places, and that's great. I mean, my family members are always going on cruises, and that's great if you enjoy that and that's where you want to spend your money. But we just really wanted out of the rat race, and it is a rat race down there. When we first moved to the community that we lived in and bought the house there, it would take Jimmy maybe 30 minutes to get to his job, and by the time we were getting ready to move out of there, so many people had moved in and the traffic was so bad it took him an hour. And me, I drove 13 miles one way to work, and it took 50 minutes, almost an hour, to go 13 miles. So to me, that's not quality of life, spending that much time in traffic on the freeway, on the highways. So we just chose to save our money and make some sacrifices. And one of those sacrifices, we scaled down to a manufactured home. I'd never lived in one. I miss my brick home. I miss living in a real house. I do. But that was in the budget, and it is paid for, and we don't have a house payment anymore. We don't have a $2,000 house payment anymore. And when we left that area of Houston, no kidding, our property tax on our house was $6,800 a year. Our windstorm coverage insurance was $3,200 a year. That's windstorm. That is not just standard home insurance, because we were in a hurricane zone, so you have to carry it by Texas law. It's called windstorm coverage. $3,200 a year. So the $6,800 for taxes, $3,200 for windstorm. Then we had regular homeowners insurance, which I think was about, I don't know, $2,000, something like that a year. And then we had HOA dues, which were relatively cheap compared to places like California. Our HOA was about $650, which was going up every year since the Big C in 2020. Everything went crazy. And then I think that was it. Yeah. That's enough. But anyway, so it cost us, before you even get to thinking principal and interest on your mortgage, it was like $12,000 just to live there, just for your overhead of your insurance and your property taxes. And we chose that area because the kids were in a good school district. They were safe, and they had a good curriculum and good activities and programs. So we paid for it. But Texas is out of control with our property taxes. So anybody that thinks Texas is a place to come move to, you need to research property taxes in Texas. So anyway, that's a little bit of that rant. And so bottom line is, we didn't retire with a big bundle of money, but we retired in a way to where we got everything paid off. We got our cars paid off, which are not new cars. My car is 7 years old. Jimmy's is 7 years old, I think. And we just work to pay everything off and get out of debt. And we don't live high on the hog, as they say. And we're far enough out in the country. There's no running to a restaurant 2 or 3 times a week, eating out. I miss that sometimes because I get tired of cooking. But that's some of the ways that we've managed to be able to do it. The plan is to expand our garden and eventually get chickens, have eggs, raise some animals for meat. And that's also going back to how we were raised, at least how I was raised, and Jimmy too, to some degree. And it just got out of the city. We were sick of that, and so we chose to step off. And it was scary, and he was more for it at first than me. By my nature, I'm very risk averse, and I come from an accounting background, and risk taker I am not. But you come to a point where you've got to be at peace, and you've got to not deal with so much of the rat race. Now, if you like the city life and all of that, then great, it's for you. Wasn't for us. So anyway, so we were glad to get out of there. And anyway, I wanted to show y'all the orchard. It's been a while since we've been out here, and let me turn this fence off so I don't get zapped. I'm just going to leave that hooked together and see if I can step over this thing with my short legs and not fall on camera here. Oh, this is a neat trick. Alright, so the orchard. So the trees are doing great. I think I've mentioned this wonderful pluot tree that I got from Stark Brothers. I can't sing the praises about Stark Brothers enough. That's the pluot. It's rocking. It's already bloomed, and you do need to plant a plum. It is a pluot, and they say plant a plum or two nearby. So that's what I did. The plum nearby is pretty sad looking, but it's still alive. And this is, let's see, this here's a little peach. God, it's just beautiful. Those little blooms on there, they're just gorgeous. No wonder the bees love it, huh? No wonder. Anyway, I fertilized all of these some weeks ago, and now that we've had a good rain, I need to fertilize them again. So this little sad looking little stick here, yeah, right there, it's alive. It's the plum, and I'm pretty impressed with it because I planted it during the non-traditional time that you would plant a fruit tree. They say get bare root, and I would agree with them, and plant everything in the fall. But I didn't do that because we were already here, and I got that at Bob Wells Nursery in Mineola at Sorelli Farms, and it is a plum, and it's doing great. I mean, it looks kind of sad shaped, but as it grows and gets a little bigger, I'll prune it and train it and all of that. I'd like to get maybe 2 more plums and put over here because there's room. And then I've got a little pear tree here that right there, little teeny tiny thing. It is from Stark Brothers. It's doing fine. And then we've got another peach looking so beautiful with the pink blooms. And then we've got, let's see here, what is this guy? This guy is it's hard to do, folks. That blue streamer right there, that is a pear. That is another Stark Brothers that I got from them. My apple trees haven't woken up yet, so they're still kind of dormant. I came out here and checked them the other day because I told Jimmy, I'm like, did them things make it through the ice? And we both think they did. They don't look dead, but they're still dormant. And I'm thoroughly impressed with this little pear tree. That is another Stark Brothers wonder, and it is an Asian pear. Oh man, if y'all ain't had an Asian pear, they're good. They're kind of like a pear and an apple tree cross. But anyway, the apple trees, yeah, there are cedar trees out here, and everybody says, oh, you'll get cedar rust. Well, the apples that I planted are more resistant to that. Are they immune to that? Probably not. But they are more resistant. And I'm just going to have to spray them a lot and hope for the best. You can't control where, that's a mulberry right there. That thing is rocking and rolling. Birds will probably have a nice feast off of that. We'll probably never ever get a mulberry. Unless I plant another mulberry and we have just an abundance. Dadgum birds will probably end up with most of them. But anyway, back to the cedar rust with the apple trees. You know, they say, oh, you shouldn't have an apple tree within, I don't know, like 10 miles or something. And who can control that unless you've got a great big, maybe 10 miles is an exaggeration, but it's like miles. You're not supposed to have an apple tree in that close proximity to cedar. I don't know who can control that unless you own a heck of a lot of land, but we don't. So anyway, and then on down here at the edge of the woods is a elderberry, if I can get it in view there somewhere. Where is it? Let's see here. Where is this little guy? I'm terrible at this, folks. Anyway, well, you may have to trust me on that. Anyway, elderberry's waking up and it's putting on new leaves, so that's a plus. I didn't manage to kill it, and the ice didn't manage to do it in, so that's good. It is humid as all get out here. We had much needed rain. Ain't complaining, but it is humid and it's heating up every day. We've had a few 80-degree days. Yesterday I think was like 76. Ain't complaining though. We needed the rain. We needed the rain. And so up here at our little garden, yes, this fence is short. No, it wouldn't really truly discourage a deer. I don't know if you can see that poultry net behind me, that little black post. Anyway, poultry netting, and we're going to put some T-post and some survey tape and kind of crisscross across there, and maybe that'll confuse the deer if they go to launching themselves in there to eat all my stuff. But you know, like I said, it ain't gonna stop them if they want in. But so the other night we had some severe weather not far from here, near Jefferson, Texas. There was a tornado, so kind of glad we got that thing right there, especially living in one of these manufactured homes. Another thing too, when we left Houston and we told people we were going to live in a manufactured home, they're like, oh, that's tornado country. Yeah, it is. But you know, if a tornado is big enough, it don't matter what you live in, it'll take out a brick house. You know, it doesn't matter. So anyway, but I'm glad we have the storm shelter. We can make a mad dash if we ever have to. So one last thing I'll show y'all, and again, I so apologize about that video. I'm just sick about it, and I edited it for so long to try to make it just right. But anyway, lesson learned. I guess that's my immersion into this world, is you at least got to lose a video or two. So these stackable planters here, that's the green stalk. And yesterday I planted some green beans in those, and they are great for green beans, or I had strawberries in them at one time before we left Houston, and they're great because you don't have to bend over. I don't know if you've ever picked bush style green beans, but you kind of feel like you're standing on your head sometimes to pick them things, and then you'll go down a row of bush beans and then you'll come back down the opposite way and you'll miss God knows how many. So those are good, you know, if you're not trying to feed a herd of people. I'm the only one that eats green beans. Jimmy don't much care for them, but it grows enough for me, and I can some, and I can make some dilly beans, which are really good, and that's enough for me. So the one thing, if it gets windy, you know, it can sometimes break those green beans, break the little stems off if it's windy enough. But if you keep them out of a windy area, they do better. So anyhow, later on I'll be bringing y'all along. I've got to trellis some peas out here that I planted. I've got to do a lot of cleaning up out here. There's still a lot of the winter yuck out here in my berry patch. I need to trellis some blackberries. I needed to do that last year when we first got here, but priorities, you know. So got some of those Freedom blackberries that are just awesome. So I want to get them trellised where they're nice and neat. And anyway, so those are some of the things I'll bring y'all along for, and hopefully you'll enjoy those and kind of see how we're building out this place. And again, that was my rant on property tax in Texas and retiring. We didn't retire with a bundle of money. We aren't traditional retirement age, but we just had enough of the rat race. So you can do it. It's a little scary stepping off, but you can do it if you want to do it, and scale back your lifestyle, scale back your spending, and you can do it. Scale back your house. You know, again, I miss my house, but it's okay. I mean, it's forcing me to get rid of a bunch of crap that I don't need anyway. The stuff ends up owning you after a while, you know, so you got to get rid of some of that stuff and thin it out a little bit. So anyway, one last thing I will say, somewhat on a personal note, is pray for our service men and women right now. Regardless of your political beliefs, you know, it's a scary thing that's going on over there. And my son is in the U.S. Army. He's a combat medic, and he's a good boy, and he's my boy. And again, regardless of what you think, you know, I just hope it settles down and all this craziness stops. Now, we knew that was the risk he was taking when he enlisted, but you never want your child to go to war. And so just pray for all of them, because there's somebody's child, there's somebody's husband, wife, son, daughter, you know, dad, mom. Just pray for them, and pray that all this nuttiness will get reined in a little bit. And again, not a political rant, but it's just a mom asking for your prayers for all of our military service women and men, and especially my boy, Shane. And until the next one, folks, thanks for joining me here. Like, subscribe, and share. And y'all keep the faith. And we'll see you on the next one.